Hey everyone, Brian Smith here from Performance Tennis. With today's busy schedules, we can't always find practice partners or a ball machine that's available at our club. So I'm going to show you a few things today that you can do on your own to help you develop better strokes and more consistency on your ground strokes. Stay tuned. All right guys, step number one of something you can do when you're practicing on your own is drop fed balls. Now you can work on a lot of different things drop feeding. Now, number one, you can work on your stances, whether you're hitting a neutral, a semi-open, or a closed. You can also work on any sort of grips that you're working with, whether you're switching grips more semi-western or eastern or even more western. Getting that feel down off a ball that's not having a lot of force coming at us is a very good tool for developing that timing. So one of the things you can do if you cannot find a practice partner is to do some drop fed practice. And one of the things that I like to do, three different versions of it. One is stationary. Basically what you're gonna do is put your feet in whatever footwork pattern you want. Right now I'm gonna demonstrate into a semi-open stance. And drop feed, swing through, execute, hold your balance to make sure that you're not having any issues there. Do that, 15, 20 times until you feel you got some control. Now, if you want to go a little bit beyond it, now you can add a little bit more movement into it. And this is where you can toss the ball out to your right and add that footwork movement out to the shot. As you can see, I held that little finish there because I still wanted to maintain my balance. Okay. Now in that one, you saw me work with an open stance forehand. So you can do this drill again, working on any of the stances that you might be having trouble with or that you and your coach are focusing on at the moment. Now the third and final and probably the most least practiced of the three is the one where you're tossing the ball inside the court and you're adding that forward momentum into the footwork. And this one is I just toss it 4 or 5 feet in front of me where I'm adding that adjustment steps into the court as opposed to going sideways. This is something a lot of players struggle with, and they don't read the depth of the ball coming out, so we end up scrambling to the shot. If you can just practice moving forward to hit some shots as well, you're going to become more comfortable at those shots. Next, we're going to talk about how we can develop more control practicing by ourselves, doing some drop-fed balls as well. Stay tuned. Okay guys, we all know that hitting just standard drop-fed balls can be pretty boring. So now we're going to try to add a little bit more excitement to it, and we're going to start hitting those shots to targets. And you can create a little game with this if you wish, or you can just use it as a visual. What I set up is I set 2 targets, one to the forehand side, one to the backhand side. I got the backhand side slightly bigger since that's where most players will end up hitting their shots because of weaknesses of their opponent. And what you want to try to do is hit your different drop-fed balls that you just practiced and now try to get them within your target zones. And you can either shoot for a total number or however many you can get out of 10 or 20. Make it creative for yourself to keep you engaged, but I promise you, once you start to feel that timing and the control there, it's gonna be a lot easier to try to find it in our next drill, which I'll show you here in a second. But first, let's take a look at this, hitting drop-fed balls to a target and how we can make it creative. All right guys, now we're back here on the baseline. Now, I'm gonna show you a couple different scenarios that you can use to help develop some of these different shots. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing because we don't have that much time, but one of the things that I like to do with my players is try to do it in patterns similar to how you would play a point. Maybe you go 2 cross court to 1 down the line, or 3 cross court to 1 down the line. Create some sort of pattern that you can follow and that you can try to gauge the feel down for the shots. So what I'm going to do in this scenario is I'm going to go 2 cross court forehands to 1 down the line. But here's the scenario. I got to make my 2 cross court balls before I can hit the 3rd ball down the line. Let's see if I can do it. Okay. There's 1. There's 2. Now the 3rd ball I can take down the line, execute. That would be 1 point for me. And I could try to get to 5 points, 10 points, whatever you feel like you want to do. But the goal here is about purely execution. Execute your footwork, execute your swing, execute your location. If you can do that, drop feeding yourself, it becomes a little easier to rally with partners and find rhythm with the shot. Now, as you can see, I have a square on the wall. You don't necessarily need to put one there, but a lot of players like to have that as a visual for target practice. So what we're gonna try to do, depending on your level, you can do this with 1 or 2 bounces, but the key here is to keep everything smooth and not try to overhit. A lot of times when players hit on the wall, they try to hit the ball too hard and the ball starts flailing around and it's not really beneficial to you. Okay, if you are just starting out or you're relatively new to the game of tennis, the key here is let it bounce twice. Don't feel like you have to get every ball on one bounce. The key to what you're focusing on is control and consistency of the stroke. So let's take a look at what this should look like. All right, so there was nice and easy. I was relatively close to the wall because I wasn't trying to overhit the shot. If you need to let it bounce twice like I did on the first one, that's fine. You're not playing a point right now. Now, if you're a little bit more advanced or that becomes a little easy for you, what you do is step back and now try to treat it as if you're playing a point and try to get every ball on one bounce. And the goal here is if you have good control of your shot, you shouldn't have to move too much for the next ball. If you want to get really creative, you can alternate your shots. So where you're going forehand, backhand, and you have to have a little bit more control of your ball so that you're getting a bounce off the court that would go to the opposite side. Let's take a look at that one. All right, so there you go. It's a little harder, but it is a challenge. And sometimes if you just progress through those 3, each and every time you do it, you'll get a little bit better at it. All right, guys, that finishes up the 3 segments of how to practice on your own. Go give them a try next time you cannot find a partner. I promise you, the more you do them, the more consistent you'll get with your shots, the more feel you'll generate, and the better player you become. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe below and share with all your friends.